The flickering threshold. I had always been drawn to the abandoned house at the end of our street, a relic that the old-timers said was once the jewel of the neighborhood. Now, it stood desolate, windows like hollow eyes, and a front door that creaked on its hinges as if sighing with the weight of untold stories. Tonight, the air was thick with the promise of a storm, and as I pushed open the gate, the lights within the house flickered, casting an eerie glow on the path ahead. The laughter was the first thing I heard, a sound so out of place that it sent a shiver down my spine. It was childlike, innocent, yet there was a layer of something sinister beneath it. I stepped into the foyer, the wallpaper peeling like dead skin, and the laughter grew louder, bouncing off the walls and filling the space with its haunting melody. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. No answer came, just the continued laughter, now joined by the soft patter of footsteps above. I followed the sound, drawn by a mix of fear and curiosity, each step on the staircase groaning under my weight. The second floor was a labyrinth of shadows, the moonlight struggling to pierce the filth-stained windows. I entered what must have been a child's room, the remnants of a mural faded on the wall, and there, in the corner, was a rocking horse, moving back and forth as if occupied by an invisible rider. I reached out to stop it, and the laughter ceased abruptly, replaced by a cold silence that seemed to press against my ears. The air grew colder, my breath visible in the moonlit room, and I felt a presence behind me, something ancient and angry. As I turned, the lights died completely, plunging me into darkness. Panic rose in my chest, and I stumbled back, my hand brushing against something small and soft. A doll, its glassy eyes reflecting the faint light that now returned, and in those eyes, I saw a reflection not my own, but of a little girl, her face twisted in a silent scream. The lights flickered once more, and the house seemed to inhale, a deep, shuddering breath that felt like a warning. I knew I should leave, but my feet moved of their own accord, taking me deeper into the house, towards the laughter that had started again, this time filled with malice. The laughter followed me as I ascended to the third floor, each step a struggle against the weight of the house's history. The walls seemed to pulse with memories, and I wondered how many lives had been lived and lost within these decaying walls. The air grew thicker, as if the very atmosphere held secrets it was unwilling to share. In the hallway, I found a door ajar, light spilling out like a beacon. I pushed it open, revealing a room bathed in an otherworldly glow. The source was a chandelier, its crystals refracting the moonlight into 1,000 fractured rainbows. But there was no electricity here. The chandelier hung from a frayed wire, swaying gently as if moved by unseen hands. The laughter intensified, now a chorus of voices, overlapping and discordant. I stepped closer to the chandelier, my breath catching as I saw the shadows dancing on the walls. They were not ordinary shadows, they were silhouettes of children, their forms elongated and twisted, their eyes hollow pits. "Who are you?" I whispered, my voice swallowed by the cacophony. The children didn't answer, but their laughter grew louder, filling my head until I thought it might split open. I reached out to touch one of the shadows, and it recoiled, dissipating like smoke. The room held more relics, a cracked porcelain doll, a rusted music box, and a faded photograph. The photograph showed a group of children, their faces blurred, but their eyes, those eyes were sharp, accusing. I recognized the girl from the rocking horse, her hair wild, her mouth open in a silent scream. As I studied the photograph, the chandelier swung violently, and the laughter turned to wails. The walls closed in, and I stumbled backward, my hand brushing against the music box. It sprang to life, playing a haunting melody that seemed to come from the very walls themselves. I fled the room, back into the hallway, but the laughter followed, echoing off the walls. The house was alive, pulsing with a malevolence that defied reason. I descended the stairs, each step a desperate plea for escape, but the laughter clung to me, wrapping around my throat like icy fingers. In the foyer, the front door stood open, a portal to safety. But as I stepped across the threshold, the laughter changed, becoming a mournful cry. I turned back, and there, in the darkness of the hallway, stood the girl from the photograph. Her eyes bore into mine, and she mouthed a single word, "Stay." I hesitated. The storm outside raged, rain tapping against the window panes like desperate fingers. The laughter had ceased, replaced by a heavy silence. I should have run, fled into the night, but something held me there, the girl's gaze, her plea. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice barely audible. She didn't answer, just stepped closer, her bare feet making no sound on the creaking floorboards. Her dress was tattered, stained with mud and time. She looked like a ghost, a memory trapped in this decaying house. "Stay," she mouthed again, her lips barely moving. The word hung in the air, a command that defied logic. I wanted to turn away, to escape this nightmare, but my legs refused to move. The house seemed to close in, walls leaning toward me, whispering secrets I couldn't decipher. "Why?" I managed to say, my breath hitching. The girl's eyes widened, and she pointed to the chandelier, still swaying in the room above. The crystals refracted the moonlight, casting fractured rainbows on the walls. But now, they held images, snapshots of lives lost, faces twisted in agony. The music box played its haunting melody once more, and I stumbled back, my hand brushing against the cracked porcelain doll. Its eyes were like the girl's, hollow, accusing. I remembered the photograph, the children frozen in time. What had happened to them? Why were they trapped here? The girl stepped closer, her fingers icy as they grazed my cheek. "They took everything," she whispered, her voice a mere breath. "Our laughter, our innocence. They fed on it, grew stronger. Now they want you." "Who?" I asked, my heart pounding. But she didn't answer, just pointed toward the basement door. The laughter returned, louder, more urgent. I descended the stairs, each step a descent into madness. The basement smelled of damp earth, and in the corner, I saw them, the shadows of children, elongated and twisted. They were hungry, their eyes like voids, and they reached for me. I stumbled back, my mind reeling. The girl stood at the top of the stairs, her form flickering, fading. "Save us," she whispered, and then she was gone, swallowed by the darkness. I ran, my footsteps echoing through the house, out into the storm. But the laughter followed, a chorus of lost souls. The basement door slammed shut, and I knew I was marked. They would come for me, feed on my fear, my memories. As I reached the gate, the lights flickered one last time, and the house seemed to exhale, a final breath. The girl's face appeared in the window, her eyes pleading. "Stay," she mouthed, and then the lights died completely. I stumbled into the rain, my clothes clinging to my skin. The laughter faded, replaced by the howling wind. But I knew I would never escape their whispers in the dark. Story 2. The Echoing Call. I had always found solace in the quietude of our old Victorian home, a stark contrast to the cacophony of the city we left behind. But that night, as the wind howled like a chorus of wailing spirits, a different kind of silence settled in, one that was suffocating and thick with anticipation. It started with a whisper, so faint I thought it was the house settling into its age. "Help me," it beckoned, a voice so achingly familiar that my heart seized. It was Laura's voice, my wife, who had been resting downstairs just moments ago. The urgency in her plea propelled me from the warmth of our bed to the cold, uncertain darkness that lay beyond our room. The house groaned under my hurried steps as I made my way to the attic. The air grew colder, the atmosphere denser, as if the very essence of the house was trying to smother me. With each step, Laura's voice grew louder, more desperate. "I'm here, in the attic. Please, hurry." I flung open the attic door, the rusted hinges screaming in protest. The room was shrouded in darkness, save for the moonlight that spilled through the lone window, casting long, sinister shadows. "Laura?" My voice was a mere whisper, drowned out by the pounding of my heart. The attic was empty, or so it seemed. Dust particles danced in the moonbeam like mocking specters. And then I saw it, the doll. It sat in the corner, its porcelain face smeared with what looked unmistakably like blood. Its glassy eyes seemed to follow me, and as I approached, a chill ran down my spine. I reached out to touch it, and the house fell silent. No more whispers, no more calls for help. Just the deafening silence and the doll, with a crimson stain that told a story I wasn't sure I wanted to hear. The doll's eyes bore into my soul, and I wondered how something so seemingly innocent could hold such malevolence. Laura's voice had led me here, yet she was nowhere to be found. The attic was a labyrinth of forgotten memories, a place we rarely ventured into, a sanctuary for dust and secrets. I picked up the doll, its limbs stiff and unyielding. The bloodstains were fresh, as if they had been painted just moments ago. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it all. Had Laura been hurt? Was she trapped somewhere, her life force draining away? The room seemed to close in on me, the walls pressing against my chest. The doll's eyes flickered, and I swear I heard it whisper, "Help me." But it wasn't Laura's voice anymore, it was something darker, more ancient. A voice that had witnessed centuries of pain and suffering. I stumbled backward, knocking over a stack of old trunks. Their contents spilled out, yellowed letters, moth-eaten clothes, and sepia-toned photographs. Among them, I found a daguerreotype of a woman who bore an uncanny resemblance to Laura. Her eyes held the same desperation, the same plea for salvation. The doll's gaze followed me as I crossed the room. I traced my fingers over the photograph, feeling the weight of history. Who was this woman? What had she endured? And why did her spirit linger here, tethered to this blood-stained doll? I returned to the corner where the doll sat, its porcelain skin now icy to the touch. "What do you want?" I whispered, half expecting an answer. But the silence persisted, broken only by the distant howling of the wind. As I placed the doll back on the floor, a trapdoor caught my eye. It was hidden beneath a moth-eaten rug, its edges frayed and worn. My heart raced. Could this be the passage to where Laura was trapped? Or was it a gateway to something far more sinister? I pulled the trapdoor open, revealing a narrow staircase that descended into darkness. The air smelled of damp earth and decay. The whispers returned, louder this time, urging me downward. "Save her," they hissed. "Bring her back." I stepped onto the stairs, my footsteps echoing in the void. The darkness swallowed me whole, and I descended into the abyss, driven by love and fear. But as I reached the bottom, I realized that this was no ordinary cellar, it was a place where reality bled into nightmare, where the veil between worlds was thin. And there, in the flickering candlelight, I saw her, the woman from the photograph. Laura. But her eyes were hollow, her skin translucent. She reached out, her fingers grazing mine, and whispered, "You shouldn't have come." Laura's spectral form flickered in the candlelight, her eyes pleading. "You shouldn't have come," she repeated, her voice echoing off the damp walls. I reached for her, but my hand passed through her ethereal figure. She was trapped between worlds, a prisoner of this cursed house. "Why?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Why are you here? What happened to you?" Her gaze shifted to the blood-stained doll, and her translucent fingers brushed its porcelain cheek. "The doll," she whispered. "It was meant to protect me. But it became a conduit, a vessel for something far more sinister." I glanced at the doll, its eyes now glowing with an otherworldly light. "What do you mean?" Laura's story unfolded like a forgotten melody. She had found the doll in the attic, hidden beneath a floorboard. It was beautiful, delicate, and seemed innocent enough. But as she held it, she felt a connection, a pull toward the darkness that lurked beyond our reality. The doll whispered secrets, ancient incantations, forbidden knowledge. Laura thought it was a gift, a way to communicate with the beyond. But the price was steep. The doll demanded blood, a sacrifice to keep the veil open. And Laura, desperate to connect with something beyond her mundane existence, complied. She cut her palm, letting the blood drip onto the doll's pristine dress. The attic came alive, the walls pulsated, the air thickened. Laura heard voices, hundreds of them, all whispering secrets, promises, and lies. She thought she had found enlightenment, but it was madness that consumed her. The doll grew hungry, insatiable. It craved more blood, more pain. Laura's life force drained away, leaving her a hollow shell. She tried to destroy the doll, but it was indestructible. Its porcelain face mocked her, its eyes reflecting her torment. "I can't leave," Laura confessed. The doll binds me here. It feeds off my essence. But you can break the cycle. I glanced at the trapdoor, the stairs leading back to the world of the living. How? Destroy the doll, she said. End its hunger. Only then can I find peace. I picked up the doll, its bloodstains now pulsing like a heartbeat. The whispers intensified, urging me to keep it, to embrace its power. But Laura's eyes pleaded with me. Do it, she whispered. For us. I climbed the stairs, the doll heavy in my arms. The attic door creaked shut behind me, sealing Laura's fate. The moon had vanished, leaving me in darkness. I stepped into our bedroom, the doll's eyes still glowing. I raised it high, ready to smash it against the floor. But then I heard Laura's voice, one last time. Remember me, she said. Remember what I became. And with a scream, I shattered the doll. The house trembled, and Laura's form dissipated, leaving only a whisper in the air. Thank you. But as I turned to leave, I saw it. The doll's shattered pieces were reforming, stitching themselves back together. The bloodstains remained, darker than ever. And the whispers, they were no longer Laura's. They were hungry, insatiable. I fled the room, leaving the doll behind. But its whispers followed me, echoing through the house, promising secrets and salvation. I knew then, I had become part of its silent pact. Forever bound to this haunted home, forever hearing the echoes of Laura's desperate plea. And so, dear listener, if you ever find yourself near an old Victorian house, tread carefully. You might hear a faint whisper, a plea for help. But beware, the attic holds secrets, and the doll waits, hungry for blood. The end. Subscribe for more. Thank you.